Hello, I will discuss the most recent findings that were presented during the last EHA meeting in Vienna in June 2022. First, we had a wonderful session about of the scientific working group of MPNs during this EHA, where we had two very interesting talks. The first one was from Daniel Royston from the UK, who presented indeed new results obtained with digital pathology, analyzing the images provided by bone marrow biopsies with artificial intelligence. And indeed, this technology was also utilized in the frame of a clinical study that was presented by Professor Claire Harrison during the meeting, the Manifest study, where Professor Harrison presented the results of the arms combining ruxolitinib plus a BET inhibitor, pelabresib, in patients with myelofibrosis. This study has 4 arms, and Professor Harrison presented the 2 arms, 3 and 2, that included patients either JAK inhibitor naive or who have lost the response to ruxolitinib to receive the combination of ruxolitinib plus pelabresib. And in fact, what was interesting in that presentation is that Professor Harrison showed many translational research, including this utilization of digital pathology. And indeed, it was really interesting to see that the combination of these both drugs was able to decrease the degree of bone marrow fibrosis as assessed by this digital pathology in about 1/4 of patients in both groups of patients. In addition, they found also a decrease in inflammatory cytokines and could also show that there was some correlation between the reduction of the JAK2 allele burden, this change in symptom score, and spleen response rate. In addition, using digital pathology, they were able to show more refined results, including change in megakaryocyte clustering that was also associated with splenic response. Another interesting talk was provided by Morten Olmström from Denmark about new strategies for treating patients with MPN and CALR mutation that are vaccination. In fact, Morten showed us the results of a first clinical trial using a vaccine against CALR mutation in patients with MPNs. As you know, there may be very different types of CALR mutations in the gene of calreticulin, but they all result in the same abnormality of the protein with a sequence that is common to all these CALR variants. And in fact, this peptidic sequence has been shown to be immunogenic, and the group of Morten Olmström could develop a vaccine against that peptide. Indeed, he showed us the first result showing that the patients can acquire some immunity against the CALR mutant with the presence of T cells specific of the CALR mutation. So the vaccination strategy was successful to induce this immune response in the patients, but for the moment, there was no correlation with any clinical response. This has to be better understood and further improved to achieve some responses to this new strategy of vaccination. And lastly, another interesting presentation was done by Professor Serge Vestovcek from the MD Anderson in the United States, who presented the results of the Momentum study that tested momelotinib in patients with myelofibrosis and anemia. The study was a double-blinded randomized study comparing momelotinib to danazol in patients with anemia to improve their symptoms as primary endpoint, but with also many secondary endpoints, including the spleen response rate and also the response on anemia. And indeed, the Momentum study reached all its endpoints with a significant improvement in symptoms, spleen size, and anemia compared to danazol. Interestingly, the patients treated with momelotinib, about 1/3 of them were transfusion independent after 24 weeks in the study compared to 20% in the danazol arm, showing again that this drug that has the peculiarity not only to target JAK2, but also ACVR1, which is a receptor on the hepatocytes that is involved in the pathway of hepcidin and iron metabolism. So interesting results, and also Professor Vestovšek showed that these results could be maintained in patients with thrombocytopenia when he studied the response according to different thresholds of platelets down to less than 100,000 or 50,000 platelets, showing that dose intensity could be maintained in these patients, resulting in a nice response regarding the spleen volume and also anemia in these patients. Importantly, safety profile seems favorable with low rates of adverse events in patients treated in that study.